Hello guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and today I want to talk a little bit more about the Xbox Scorpio. So what I'm trying to do with today's conversation is a little bit unique. I actually want to have a larger conversation and get to a completely different topic surrounding the Xbox Scorpio, but first I needed to make this video and kind of treat this as a part one of two sort of situation, where I'm ultimately going to be talking about how the Xbox Scorpio will directly compare to the Nintendo Switch. Now, weeks ago, probably even months ago, I actually made a video about how the Scorpio and Switch might actually technically be considered 9th generation consoles, and that was a very interesting, fun conversation, a lot of interesting responses and reactions from you guys on what that means, and the ultimate consensus for most people seems to be that the Switch itself seems to be a 9th generation console, which seems completely legitimate to me. I'm totally okay with that, but the Scorpio is a different kind of scenario. Now, the conversation I'm trying to have today in part two of this two-part video series is more about how the Xbox Scorpio could relate to the potential success of the Switch and vice versa, and if there's going to be an impact based on what the Scorpio is going to be doing. But again, in order to do that, I need to really dive a little bit deeper into my ultimate feelings and theories. That is a keyword to pay attention to, theories about what the Scorpio truly could be. Now, I've made a few videos discussing the Xbox Scorpio over the past couple of weeks, and it's very interesting because I always talk about how I have a speculation and a guess and a theory about what the Scorpio might truly be, acknowledging it could be as low-end as a simple PS4 Pro upgrade sort of situation to what the Xbox One is, all the way up to the craziest scenario, which is an actual quantifiable next-gen, 9th generation, completely brand new machine that is separate from the Xbox One family. And every time I bring that up, and always mention that it's only a guess or a theory, I get a lot of people who react pretty toxically to that idea, saying, you're a complete idiot, do the research, it shows this and that and the other, they've confirmed this and that and that. And it's like, well, you know, I actually did a little bit more research just to make sure that there was some basis for me to have these sort of guesses out there and put them out there for you guys on the channel. And I'm going to link an article for you below that, to be fair, it's a Microsoft page, and you never know how completely factual these sorts of things are. But the way this thing lays out the facts, it falls in line with everything we've ever heard Microsoft say and confirm out loud, such as the 6 teraflops thing compared to what I think ever the 1.5 is in the Xbox One, and all these different things. And it definitely leaves so much room for speculation open, so I feel very comfortable with all of the theories and guesses that I've laid out in the past, and I feel very comfortable continuing to do the same thing today. So I definitely implore you to read the list of details, the confirmed factual details as of like a week ago that is in the article below, before you listen to what I have to say about what I think could potentially happen with the Scorpio. So with that out of the way, and the confirmation that what I am laying out to you guys again in my theories about the Scorpio is only a theory, I'm spending a couple of minutes really driving this point home because I think people really need to understand this. I recognize that the theories could be wrong. That's the very definition of a theory. Like I said, I recognize that the Scorpio could end up being literally an actual Xbox One with a different name, like an Xbox One Scorpio, that is literally what a PS4 Pro is, and it's just a minute upgrade. I totally get it, you guys. That could be true. However, I don't think that's true, and that's why I wanted to discuss this before getting to my next video comparing the Scorpio to the Nintendo Switch. So, like I said, with that out of the way, I want to dive into what I'm truly starting to believe could be happening with the Xbox Scorpio. It would be very interesting and potentially good for Microsoft to make the Scorpio an actual Xbox One family machine where it is just a slight upgrade and we know it's supposed to be able to play all these Xbox One games. As it stands right now, in early 2017, the word from Microsoft is that the Xbox Scorpio is going to be playing all of your Xbox One games, but also make some games in the future available in this Xbox Scorpio mode, because the Scorpio has access to so many more teraflops and on-system RAM. And again, you guys know me, I'm not a specs guy, so I don't 100% know what that means. All I can tell you is, well, those numbers are a lot bigger than the numbers in the Xbox One. And if there's one thing I do know about the console manufacturing space, it's that the bigger the numbers, usually the better the components and the better the graphics and the better the AI and the bigger the worlds and all of these things you can actually make. So that is very cool. The Scorpio we know is going to be absolutely insanely more powerful than the Xbox One. I believe in the article below, they say that due to the specs that we have had so far confirmed from Microsoft, that it makes it 4.5 times more powerful than the Xbox One. So we need to think about that for a minute. If in fact that's true, and I did use the word if, guys, so everyone remember I'm using ifs and potentiallys and maybes and possiblys in this video. So if 4.5 more powerful is the actual true fact with the Scorpio, you guys have to think about what that truly means. That is so much more powerful than the Xbox One. To me, only in terms of power, that is telling me that the Xbox Scorpio is going to have to be considered eventually within its life a next generation console and something that is not actually an Xbox One. I don't think that the Xbox One name is ever going to be truly used when it comes to the Xbox Scorpio. By the time the thing finally hits store shelves and people can go out and buy them, and we have all the details, whether that comes out at E3 this year or Gamescom later in the year or whatever, we're not going to hear Xbox One except for in terms of Xbox One games are playable on the Xbox Scorpio. And I've brought this up many times. I'm really starting to believe that this is a way larger evolutionary leap over the current generation Xbox than we previously thought at last year's E3 when Microsoft unveiled it, and that it's only going to be something that's just simply backwards compatible. And you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't want to say simply backwards compatible. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I think it's going to be backwards compatible, but a console that very smartly will be able to upgrade what the previous generation, being Xbox One games, will actually look like and play like. If that's true, that will indeed be a very unique and awesome way to have a console be backwards compatible. We've seen backwards compatible systems before, but never ones that actually take advantage of the power and improve the previous generation's games. It would be great if that happened more often, but it never has. And what I really think is happening is the Scorpio within Microsoft is being looked at as a new next generation machine, something that's meant to break down the walls of generations for the future. They've confirmed that. I've lamented how much I don't really love that idea, but I do think that's what the Scorpio is going to be. And it's just going to play last generation games, but make them look and run and play a little bit better and maybe take advantage of 4K resolution. And that's really cool. Like, if that happens, I think that that's pretty exciting. Now, I know that people go back to E3 last year and they talk about, oh, they confirmed it to basically be like an Xbox One. It's, you know, it's not really going to leave like a no man left behind kind of thing. No Xbox One gamer left behind. And people have talked about that even on my previous videos. And that's true. Like, that really initially from Microsoft has been said, and I think they've even sort of maintained that idea over the last year or so, and I think that that's a good sentiment for them to be sticking behind. I do like the idea of that. However, I think that there's a couple of things happening when it comes to the no Xbox One gamer left behind. One is, I think that it's entirely possible that that has changed since they first revealed the console. You guys have to remember that when they talked about it at E3 last year, that's almost a year ago as of today. And when you go back to a year ago, how much longer before even that did they actually start working on the Scorpio? And you know it was probably even a year before that. So at this point, I would guess that 2 years, internally within Microsoft, for 2 years or even longer, they first started putting together plans and blueprints and ideas of what they wanted the Scorpio to truly be. You know what happens when you're developing brand new hardware and brand new tech that we've never seen in the console space? Is things change, man. Things absolutely change. And maybe even all the way up to the E3 reveal last year, and I guess I should use the term reveal loosely because they didn't truly reveal it, but just a confirmation of it last year, I'm willing to bet that in the year since, it's very possible, if not even likely, that some things about what they plan to do or what they plan to make the Scorpio truly be could have changed. I really think that that's a good possibility. So I understand people's dedication to what Microsoft said last year, a year ago at E3, and I certainly hope that most of that's even true. But when we look at it realistically, outside of what I want to be true, or maybe what you want to be true, I do think there's more than a good chance that some things might have changed. And through that, I also think that there's a very good possibility that down the road, the Scorpio is not going to be able to fulfill the no Xbox One gamer left behind mentality. And that's the other point that I wanted to bring up, is I do very much believe, and if Microsoft is smart, they're going to do this, that for the launch of the Xbox Scorpio, if that's this year or delayed into next year like I think or beyond, that by the time the console launches, I think that yes, no Xbox One gamer left behind will be a true thing. I think that they are going to be very smart and focus and push and market like crazy the fact that all of your Xbox One games are going to be playable on the Scorpio, so you don't have to feel like you're getting totally screwed out of all these games you bought, and they're maybe going to look and run better on the Scorpio. Like I said, maybe the Scorpio can do that. They've kind of almost confirmed that. It is sort of mentioned and referenced in the article I'm linking for you guys below. But going back to this idea that the Scorpio is 4.5 times more powerful than the Xbox One, think about that number really, and think about what it means for something to multiply itself 4 times over and then some. That is so significant. And when we look at where gaming is going and the fact that PCs are continually outpacing consoles nowadays, and we know that that creates issues with game development, and I've said this for over a year, I think that the push from game developers is really starting to hit all of these console manufacturers. I feel like eventually, within a year, 2, maybe as long as 3 years, but I'm going to shoot for 2 years being the sweet spot. I think at that point within the Xbox Scorpio's lifetime, it's going to start, we're going to start getting to the point where games are not going to be made backwards compatible, and you're not going to have Xbox One and Xbox Scorpio games. I think eventually we're going to start seeing exclusive Scorpio games start to come. And if it's so much more powerful than the Xbox One, why wouldn't that happen? I mean, why would you make a console so much more powerful than the Xbox if you're not going to take advantage of it? Because to me, having a console 4.5 more times powerful than the Xbox One, but limiting that power to only what the original Xbox One can actually output, why would you do that? Why would you create a console with that much power? You're basically saying we have all this power that we're never going to use, we're never going to allow developers to use, and it's just going to be sitting there with wasted space and wasted potential. I mean, am I wrong there? I know a lot of you guys and people who might come across this video are going to understand specs and the innards and all the technology that goes into consoles way more than I can, and I totally am fine admitting that. So I want to hear from you guys. Does that make sense? Am I right in saying a console 4 times more powerful than an Xbox One not being able to deliver on that power because it's limited by having to make games available on the Xbox One also, is that not a waste? Or, I mean, what is the business decision there for Microsoft? What is the gain to them as a company and to us as a gamer who might buy into the Scorpio? What is the gain? I mean, there's just nothing happening there. I mean, I don't even know where else to go. I feel like my point is so proven in that theory that there's nowhere else to go. I mean, I just don't see a world where for the entire life of the Scorpio, like everyone today wants to believe and yells at me when I say the opposite, I just don't believe that for the entire life of the Scorpio, there's never going to be games released that can only run on the Scorpio and that cannot possibly play on the Xbox One, you guys. At some point, this no gamer left behind thing is just not going to last, and that's why I truly believe that if the Xbox Scorpio is as powerful as Microsoft has been trying to tell us, and we all want to believe because that power is very exciting, at some point, the Xbox One is going to go away, you guys, and there are not going to be games running on both consoles, you guys. Unless this whole theory is wrong, and maybe the numbers that they've told us that everyone wants to stick by aren't really true, and maybe this idea that it's 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One isn't really true. And if you just have your Xbox Pro, console releasing, and that's all this is just a slight upgrade like the PS4 Pro, then great. Then there you go. You got your kind of lame upgrade to the Xbox One that I don't think is going to be very exciting. I don't think it's going to make developers excited to develop for, and is not going to probably be very successful. And, in wrapping this up, I've talked about this before too. We have to look at the PS4 Pro, for example, which we know really hasn't been lighting the world on fire. I mean, I know it's selling because it's like the main console that exists on the market, but it's not selling because it got people excited about the possible future of the power of the PS4 Pro. It's just like, hey, you want this HDR thing and some 4K gaming sometimes? Well, here's a PS4 Pro for another $100. It's the main thing we have on the market, the end. There's no main advertising coming from Sony. There's no main push. There's no indication that it's been crazily successful. It's the PS4 name that's doing successful and selling well, but the Pro itself has not done anything, in my opinion, and I think in most people's opinion and in the facts available, it's done nothing to change the fortunes of Sony or the PS4 name other than just be what's on the market that people happen to be able to buy, and that's it. And so I can't possibly imagine that Microsoft has watched the PlayStation 4 Pro thing play out and felt, wow, that's so great for Sony, we need to do the exact same thing. Let's put minimal effort, time, and money into a minute upgrade just so that Xbox One gamers aren't left behind, and that's going to be really great for us, just like it has been for Sony. It hasn't been great for Sony. It hasn't been bad, I will be totally fair. It hasn't been actually bad or negative to Sony. My brother has one. He really likes it. Terrell on the podcast, who I do the podcast with, I believe, Terrell, you also got yourself a PS4 Pro and you like it, and that's great, but I don't think that the Pro aspect is changing PlayStation 4 gaming. And even if Microsoft initially planned on doing that exact thing with the Scorpio, even at the time that they talked about it last year, because that was before the Pro even launched, it further goes to prove my point, potentially, in the bizarro world where my theories are true, it would go to prove my point that maybe Xbox initially planned on doing that, but learned through Sony's lack of major success with the PS4 Pro that maybe that's not worth it, and they need to make a bigger jump, and they need to make a bigger leap to make the Scorpio truly successful and deliver on the vision that they have, and maybe even what us as gamers want. So that's ultimately what I have to say about the Scorpio in this part 1 video. That's what I think is happening. I truly believe that the ultimate and final essence of what the Scorpio is going to be a much larger leap and a huge evolution over what the Xbox One is. I think we're just going to get a next generation console that's backwards compatible for a while, and that is going to be cool. I like the idea that the first 2 years the console's on the market, it'll still play Xbox One games. That makes me feel better about buying into it, because to be honest, guys, the more I'm starting to read about the few facts that we have about the Scorpio, the more excited I am. I think I'm actually really excited to learn what this thing is, and whereas, you know, the PS4 Pro didn't excite me at all to upgrade over my current PS4, the Scorpio, if it's what I think it is, it gets me excited, and I want to pick it up, and I like knowing that the first few years, maybe, I would be able to still play all of the Xbox One games that I have. That's exciting, so I want to see what this thing really turns into. So, I'm going to end this here. That's my part 1 of this conversation, and now you guys know what I truly kind of think the Xbox Scorpio really might turn out to be. All theory and speculation, so don't frickin' come at me with pitchforks if you totally disagree, bearing in mind that most of this stuff is still a mystery. We don't have enough facts for you to say that I'm wrong, and we don't have enough facts for me to say that I'm right. I'm willing to admit that. Hopefully you guys could admit the same thing as well. So, that's it for this video. The next video that I'm going to post, maybe later today or probably tomorrow, is going to be comparing the Xbox Scorpio and my theories about it and what it could truly mean for the Nintendo Switch. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, it makes me worried for the Nintendo Switch, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you guys. So tune into that video next time. Thank you so much for checking this out. Hopefully you don't hate me for talking about the Project Scorpio, because everyone always gets pissed whenever I do. But that's it for this video, guys. So tune into part 1 tomorrow. Thanks as always for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you guys next time on another video.